Tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna try and figure a way that I can put this phone so you can see what I'm doing. I mean, I got this old lamps here from. These are probably from the 70s. Okay, if you guys don't know, I used to do antiques. I worked for a family of antique auctioneers when I was a kid. So I learned how to. Well, I didn't get any kind of formal training, which I should have, because you get big money in when you're doing those old trade auctions. So let me just show you what we did. So I had like a giant parabolic socket in here, and all I did was poke a hole through the back. And they have these really nice weather covers, but they don't have a lot of space, so I got to knock a little bit of a hole so that I can get the wires through, because the fucking wires, the gauge is different. Okay, the gauge is thicker on the original wiring, okay? I mean, this is some really heavy gauge shit, but the wire is thinner. And here I have this new socket, and it has like these cheapy cheap Kmart special. Like, I mean, I thank God they're just LEDs, and I'm actually thinking maybe I'm gonna get some of those, rechargeable ones that just screw in, because remember there's no electricity there. So I'm doing all this fucking wiring in advance because I know that once I have, electricity there, which I'll have soon. I'm just gonna tell you guys that this has been um, kind of bumming. It's kind of bummed me out a little bit. It's kind of bummed me out just a little bit, just because. And you guys don't know this, but we got a new president, and she's everybody's favorite. But you guys know how I feel about politics, and especially the kind that we probably, should have learned a lesson from in Eastern Europe, but apparently everybody has amnesia. So, um, let's see. Let's see what happens. I'm not going to probably wait around to find out. I'm going to go do some investigating. I'm not going back to any other countries I've been already. I'm just going to find a new place that sounds good to me, where, I got friends in all kinds of places that you didn't even know we had places. So, and not to brag, I'm just saying that over the years I've managed to meet people who have invited me to their house, and they always regret when I leave. So that's a good feeling to have, you know what I mean? It's like the Stoics would say, how sweeter it is to my ears to hear, so good it is to see you, as opposed to why have you come. So you see what I'm saying when, and there's a lot of people that do not probably fit in well with others, and I'm one of those people. So I do a lot of things by myself, which is perfectly fine for me. Other people would lose their fucking mind. They have to be in a relationship. They always got to be with a woman doing something, spending money on her and whining and dining her and all that bullshit. Which is fine if that's what you really, really want to waste your money on. Because it's so easy for them to find a guy to spend money on them. And then when they find one that doesn't, she gives that guy sex and attention, can't get enough of his ass, stalks him and everything else. So I played this part, you guys, for a long time when I could have very well been playing the playboy. And I did for a while. I played that whole, rotation game and all that stuff. And it just made me, feel like at the end of the day, I'm by myself and I can't get these girls to come over when I want them to. They're always late. They're always like, changing plans. And when they change plans, say you guys know this, I have learned over the years by experience, is when they change plans, it's because they found a better deal. They found somebody who is better than you in some way, so they're not going to waste their time by explaining to you why this other dude is better than you. No, they're just going to not show up and ghost you, perhaps. I mean, it's unfortunate, but that's just the name of the game. That's what they do. So it's like most guys are like, why even bother now? And then sometimes they'll see their friends are like, hey, wait a minute. That guy's got friends that are like, girls in Colombia and stuff, and he looks like he goes on vacation there a lot. And then they find out that he lives down here. And sees like, Jesus, man, this is this guy's girlfriend. And look at his girlfriend's girlfriends. And then, he might chat it up with one of them or whatever and find out, wow, these chicks are really nice. I mean, I was astonished the first time I had a conversation with a Colombian girl. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't mean. I'm trying to tell a story about how I ended up here in the first place and why I think it's better here. As far as for somebody who's really into art, if you're really into art and doing stuff that's fun, Colombia is cool, but it doesn't have a lot of the resources, I believe, that Mexico has. A lot of paint, companies and factories and stuff. That is not to say Colombia doesn't. Yes, they do. But what I'm saying is that access to, really good like materials, like steel and things like that, because I do, buggies and anything made out of steel. And they have really good welders here, so that's always been a fun thing. Look at this. Finally. Now, I've cut these short. I realize that, these are not, okay, this is all low voltage anyway. It's all going to be 12 volt hooked to this photo cell. So I got an issue with this, you guys. Listen to this. Okay, it's a photo cell. I'm going to run it in series. Okay, so I'm going to run it at power source. Now look at you look to the bottom. Okay, we all know that if you got a fixture that needs one of these, they just snap on and all that shit. Well, not in this case, because this is a photo cell that I'm going to have to figure out how to wire it together. And then I'm going to find somewhere to put it, like where the sun. I mean, this is crazy, you guys. Look at this. Where am I going to put this? Like that? Like that? I don't want to put this. I don't want this to look shitty. It seems like there's no other way around it but like to do some kind of like Siamese head connection here. I mean, what do you guys think? I don't want to do it like that. This is loose. Look at this. This is loose because look, all this old plastic in here is oxidized. You see that? I think this had like halogen lamps in it. And if you've ever messed around with like parabolic, fixtures, hold on a second. Oh, wait a minute. It's turning. Oh, no, that's just, fuck, man. This thing is so stuck. What do you guys think? Should I stuff some WD-40 on those threads? Because these are like plastic nuts. Look at that. See? This is not a big deal, right? This is just 12 voltage, but I don't like things to be done half-assed. So if I leave it like that, it's going to look stupid. And, somebody's going to say, oh, yeah, look at that. Somebody did that shit. I know you did that. So I don't want to look dumb. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to put some silicone in here as to just to lock that out. You know what I mean? Just so that this has an open hole where you're supposed to have conduit going in. So I'm not going to fuck with conduit. I'm just putting a 12 voltage thing. I've rewired this parabolic thing just as a regular Edison base. I'm going to put some 3-watt bulbs in it and see how it goes. So check back with me in about 47 minutes because I'm going to let all this caulking dry and stuff. And by the way, I put this layer of this is old tire. That's old inner tube from like tractor trailer tire. So it's really thick. And what I do is I silicone it down on the top here, because there may be a possibility, because I'm using a cable. I'm going to make sure that this is really insulated, and it's also not a really rainy area, but that right there is enough space to just ruin this fucking thing altogether. So I don't want to waste any money on bulbs and stuff and fuck them all up. I mean, what do you guys think? Say something in the comments so I know that I'm not talking to myself, because I don't want to seem like a crazy guy just because I'm rewiring a fucking thing here for you guys. Because I thought it would be cool. I found these. A guy, it was a kid, not a guy. He had 4 of them, and he wanted like, some crazy amount of money for each of them. And I'm like, I'm not balling like that, because I spend money on just whatever. See what I'm saying? I want to be able to do stuff for me, nice stuff for me. And I realized that I could pay somebody really easily to do this for me. But that's not why I hire people. I don't hire people because I can't do it. I hire people because I want to see their business do better, even though I could very easily do that fucking job myself. You see what I'm saying, guys? I'm not trying to be a show off and look, oh, this motherfucker knows how to do everything. Go ahead, ask him anything. He knows everything. And see, that's not the look you want. That's not the look that a guy like me, you understand what I mean, a guy like me isn't going to do the dumb shit that makes, popular people popular. Popular people are popular for doing stupid shit and being ignorant and, selling their souls to whatever entity that is giving them the most, to the highest bidder. I don't think that's what anybody really, really intended on. They thought, oh, yeah, sure. Oh, I'll just sell my soul. He, tee-hee, and all that shit all the way to the bank. Only to find out that contract that they signed with blood, which, by the way, if you did not know this, Peter Steele from the band Typo Negative, when he sold his soul to the devil by signing a record label with whoever, he signed it in blood, a mixture of blood and cum and spit. So all of his DNA is DNA from his blood and cum and shit. When he signed his, you know what I mean? Rock stars are rock stars. Look what I did. That's what I did. I just put the female end on here. All right. Why would I put the female end on here? Why? Because I want to try to get this photocell. Okay. I need to get this photocell in a position somewhere else. I don't want the photocell. This is not my style, you guys. This is not the way I do stuff. This would be embarrassing. Okay. Not that this is any better, but it is better because I can put it up on top of the arcs. You see, the castle has, the archways are like close to 20 feet tall. So if I put the photocell, I'm going to put it up top. So the lights, just so you guys know, I did not measure the distance that these lights put off. Because once I flipped them on, I was like, holy shit. It's the same as basically a 150 watt floodlight. So if you got a big ass LED this big that has a whole pattern of, heads in there, the lights, each light I think is 0.02 watts. So you get something this cheap and it lights you up. That's what you want. And there's another thing is that you could swap it out with battery operated light bulbs that put off a lot of wattage, similar to about a 60 watt bulb. And I'm just telling you guys from my experience working with lamps is that a 60 watt lamp is good. But the further and further that light goes up, that's why I got these. These give off refractions. That's why it's designed like this with acrylic. So you'll see that this light will give off a focus light, but it'll also give a beam that's more of a really soft specker going out. When you see the height of the castle, you see that it's so fucking high up there. You're like, well, that's stupid. Why would you? Well, I got to have lights because it's so dark there at night because there's just like nothing out there. It's a big empty castle. And the best I could do, and I'm just telling you that when you don't have a donor that really likes what you do, it comes out of your pocket. Doesn't matter how good of intentions you have. If you're overseas, people don't trust, foundations in Mexico to begin with. So it doesn't matter if I get any donations at all because I'm going to pay for those kids regardless because that's what I do. And anybody who knows is I've been a philanthropist since I was in my 20s. And backstory, I did not inherit anything. I was a poor, homeless veteran at one time. And I played my cards right. And now I've been off the grid for a long time. So if you're off grid, life is cheaper. So just a secret, if you don't know that, a lot of guys are overseas because you can't live like a baller on a veteran's pension. It's just not realistic. That's just stupid. It's like saying you're going to get rich in the military. It just doesn't happen. And but anyway, there is a lot of people that start foundations that is nothing more than a piggy bank for their own possessions. But I had a very, very big change in life happen to me. And at one time I had a very large factory and I did pretty good from overseas, you know what I mean? I was living overseas, but the factory was in the States and like MMA was getting big. So I got my start in MMA and blew up pretty fast and got into some shit with my competition. And one of my suppliers became my competition. And then one of my employees became the employee of one of my competitors. And it was a series of mutual betrayals between me and the guy that was in charge of this company that I was in. So after that, I retired. And I said, I'm never going to try to save anybody else ever again. I'm not in a position financially to save everybody. And I was just, just now, getting out of the military. And there's this dude, and he's like, I really need some help. I'm really down on my shit. And he turned out to be pretty smart. And I was like, man, this dude's smart. He should be, running his own company. Why isn't he doing his own thing? Hold on a second, guys. Watch this. Anyway, the guy turned out to be pretty smart. But he was smart because he was a very old-time scammer from New Jersey. And it's not anything to do with New Jersey. I'm sure New Jersey is wonderful. He just happened to be from New Jersey. And he was a jerk, like a lot of people from New Jersey are. And he was a jerk. A total fucking asshole. But at the end of the day, he was really just he was a couch surfer. He would go from one person's house to the next. And because he had veteran status, he would be able to get into veterans halfway houses and panhandle all day. And then he figured out where we go next. So I unfortunately helped this guy. And I did it out of kindness because, he gave a good story. He gave a great story. He said his father died. He didn't have anywhere to go. He had gotten out of the military with 10 years of service. And so he was a young captain. And I was like, DD-214, please. So while I'm waiting on the DD-214, he's giving me the fucking song and dance about, how everything is a shit. Everything did him wrong. Everybody's fucked him over. And I've been that guy. I've been that guy that Nothing was right. It's everybody's fault. I'm the professional fucking victim. And in some ways, I was actually very right. I had very legitimate claims of being fucked over by friends. And those friends who know they are. I know what you did. And a lot of people anticipate me, smashing them or something like that. And I thought about it. I say, you know what? This is another opportunity for me to do a little experiment. This is the 3 lights I just wired up. So you can see I put a female end on this side. So I'm going to put the photocell over there. These 2, like I said, I'm going to put those in series. And then I got one more to do. So this guy dicked me over. He really dicked me. The guy lived in my house for like 8 months. Didn't pay rent. Gave him a job in the factory. Thought he would be okay, Think, oh, he's educated, He's probably good with his hands. Probably has some skills. But when you're a professional scammer, basically, I listened to all this guy's stories. And I knew this guy was full of shit. And I was like, oh, man, I'm stuck with a guy that's this fucking dude in my house that's living over here like it's a fucking flop house. Like, he's got no responsibility, doesn't clean. Yeah, so what? And unfortunately, he was a psychopath, like a legitimate psychopath. He actually told me that him and a bunch of cops from some from some department, just so you guys know, most of the people that come to visit me are either cops, paramedics, ex-military, or firefighters. Ex-military mostly, but people come down here because they got, they're a little scrambled upstairs and they need help. And I just happen to be one of these people who knows how to at least give somebody some relief from, being a fucking maniac all the time and ruining all your relationships and alienating your family. Yeah, it's actually a fun thing to help somebody recover from. But that is not everybody's intention when they come down here. So I got this guy, flop. He thinks this is a fucking AA flop house or some shit. And he turned out to be very smart. He was a very smart guy. And he's like, yeah, I've been running like a credit report, credit repair type of thing, like scheme. And I'm like, right, really? Oh, okay. And he's like, yeah, and I work out of a call center. And I'm going, okay. So this is a guy that said he had 10 years of service, that said he was a captain that was in finance. But then I asked him to do something for me on a computer, and he did not know how to copy and paste. So I just like, that price is right. Dun, 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 boom. Now listen to me, guys. I was not some superhero in my military career. Okay, I was not in the special forces, although I was stationed with the special forces. Doesn't mean the same shit. So, and again, not saying this guy had stolen valor or if he was like, a what's the guy's name? Guy that the I can't remember. But anyway, he like lives everybody else's life. Walter Midley. Yeah. The Secret Life of Walter Midley. Walter Mitty, right? Anyway, this guy basically pretended, invented all these stories about his military career. And meanwhile, it's like it's a 1940s movie that basically is a story about a schizophrenic man. And so he has been living this life where he was in India, or you know what I mean? So it's always something spectacular in order to make up a story that while he is in his mind. So it's not that he is a compulsive liar, so to speak, But to me, I would say that people who live in that sort of fantasy world where they need to lie all the time would be excellent writers. Because if they could just write down all the bullshit they say, and they would look at it and they would go, oh, what a terrible script. Who the fuck wrote this? Oh, it was me. I'm the fucking asshole. Because they would look at life differently. And that's why I don't worry about people saying you're full of shit. You're saying you got all this stuff at you. You've been in all these countries and everything. Yes, I have. I don't have to prove it to anybody for anybody to know that. Right? Because I live that way. This is how I am. I am where I am. And if you don't know me, you know what I'm saying? I am where I say I am. And I got my teeth damn near knocked out of my fucking mouth. And I'm still trying to rewire my fixtures. I want to show you guys how I did this though, because we had the chassis swap that we did on the chicken bus. And when we brought all those tires, we pulled those tires off, we had like these old gigantic fucking inner tubes, you know, but they had these huge patches in them. So I was like, no, man, we'll keep that rubber. And when it's time, we'll cut it up and we'll use it for seals. Because when you do a total chassis restoration, you're going to get this fucking vibration coming out of everything. Doesn't matter what the fuck you think it is, how quick you bolted that bitch down, vibration, soundproofing, I don't give a fuck. That thing is going to rattle and rattle. And that's why I say measure twice, cut once, put your silicone on the inside and on the outside. Use the right kind for the fucking roof. Always work on your front windshield and your air current. See, a lot of these hippies that buy these expensive vans, they pay people like top dollar to renovate the vans. And I know you guys love this about me, but I recycle everything. I get everything from the recycling center. All these lights I bought from a guy, and I think we paid $35 for all four of them. Look, I got to pull one more together, and then we got to run them all in series. But I always see it's important that you guys realize is that steel is expensive. Like plastic is expensive. There's a lot of materials that are so fucking expensive, it's almost impossible for a guy like me that just has a limited budget and has a lot of employees and people and families to take care of, that, you know, I could just throw fucking money around and hire somebody to go put my van together, or hire an electrician to wire these lights together. You know, because I have a dude that I really appreciate, probably more than anybody. Guy never says a word, right? Never says a word. Great carpenter. And every single time I see this guy, he's carrying like these exotic woods. These different kinds of wood that, I mean, I've seen lots of different kinds of wood, but, you know, he's working with like legit cherry wood that looks like, you know, red wood. So that's why I say it's always been, you know, so cool to see guys that are good at trades, you know, like just shut their mouths and get after their job, as opposed to talking about or bragging about how much money they make. Because I don't know if you know this or not, but in Eastern Europe, you're not going to get a lot of people. You're not going to get a lot of people's attention by bragging. Bragging is very American, especially when it comes to money. And I'm hoping that, you know, at least a few people I do have influence over, they'll understand that I was very materialistic before, because, you know, when you come from nothing, you've come into some ability to get out of the rat race and leave your country and go live on a cheap, then you're going to go do that no matter what. There used to be a guy named Speedy. He used to go to the AA and NA meetings in West Palm Beach. And he used to go like this. He would say, no matter what, 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 don't give up no matter what. And he'd say that I used to say no matter what, so many times is because I used to give up that many times. You try to quit drinking or you try to stop doing drugs. And just so you guys know, I grew up around total crackheads. So the whole criminal element, the whole mind fuck, and I've worked with the homeless shelters for the pregnant women, the women that were strung out on cocaine and stuff. And it's men with the men and women with the women. And on occasion, you'll have like NA meetings where you'll have like men and women, and they'll go to these meetings, and they'll be so fucking horny. And I got to be around them long enough to know all their tricks. So these modern women ain't tricking me in and doing no bullshit. So I get to watch like the extreme behaviors of human beings. We're talking about people who are coming off of drugs. The things they say, the demonic possession that I see in them, it just stopped me and I stopped. I was like, wow, I've been sober for a long, long time now. Okay. It was the 19th of March, 2002. I haven't had a drink since. And I'm sure it's fucked not touching anything addictive like cocaine or anything like that. Suck. To get that out of the way. Now, I did have a brother that was strung out on heroin, and he liked to shoot cocaine. Then I had an uncle that was strung out on Oxycontins, and he shot himself in the eye, and he killed himself. Then I had another uncle that stayed sober for about 10 years. He was everybody's favorite. He was a baller. He used to sell Rolls Royces and Bentleys and stuff, and he was, he was another guy that came from middle-class white trash. And he started his life off by doing, car detailing because I was, you don't have to have a high school diploma to do that. And he was just trying to make some money. But he got into the car transport business in the 80s. And if you guys know what the car transport in the 80s is for luxury cars, it's like Bentleys and Rolls Royces, where the customer is not even seeing the salesperson, they just drop the car off. So my uncle was into doing car transport from different states. He would drive, a fancy car, or he would have a trailer bring a dozen cars wherever to some dealership, and or he'd do some wheeling and dealing, but he only dealt in cars that were like Bentleys, cars that were over $300,000. And this is back in whenever. So if you know what a Bentley costs in the 80s or a Rolls Royce costs in the 80s. And this is especially when Beverly Hills Cop was a really famous movie in 1985. So he got into this business by accident. And fast forward, because he had 10 years of sobriety, he did great in the business. Now, whether he did shady stuff, even sober, I don't know, because he was so well off. He was doing so good for himself. 10 years of sobriety. And then they heard that he had, relapsed, but not a big deal, they said. He just went back to, work or some shit, and he didn't have any consequences. But it was the following week. It was the Super Bowl where the Denver Broncos were playing the Patriots. And I get this call in the middle of the night because he was in the States. I'm in Germany. And he said, your uncle's dead. I go, what? He said, yeah, they found his body in a hotel room. And his suitcase, his briefcase, where he kept all his money from driving those cars back and forth, was gone. And, of course, they found an empty bag of cocaine. And he died of a heart attack. So there goes his 10 years of sobriety down the shitter. There goes his life down the shitter. He had a baby. By the way, he was only 38 years old at the time. His son, which, by the way, passed away last year from alcoholism, was 38 years old. He got in a relationship with a girl, and it was tumultuous because both of them were alcoholics. She had a dog that hated him. He hurt the fucking dog. He went to jail. When he got into jail, he was having delirium tremens. Then he got his ass fucking. Then he got faded in jail for fucking with a dog up. I don't know if he killed the dog or he hurt the dog real bad, but he was just a piece of shit. But he was a good kid when he was young. and his dad was the model citizen when he was sober. And so it made me reflect on, he was just like me. I'm no different than he was. The only difference is I didn't pick up a drink. That's the only difference between me and all my uncles that committed suicide or all my friends that have been in jail for like the 20th time. I have escaped death. They say I got to AA like the day before I died. And they were right because I was at the point where I started having the shakes. I mean, I was terrified of not drinking because I knew how uncomfortable it felt. But I was not in a financial position, to lose at the time. I had a very, very high bottom at the moment, and I was doing good for myself. I was in Germany. I was opening up cell phone shops. I was, having like these martini lunches with very powerful people. And I thought I had arrived. I mean, I know a few people who have had that statement said before. They say, like, oh, I'm doing so good now that I don't need, whomever, whatever. And unfortunately, that is the facts of life sometimes. Okay, so I just pulled back a ton of like 6 mangoes. Okay, a bag of mangoes costs about $1, and these are the Criollo mangoes. I want to show you what these look like. They're yellow. You want to keep them in the freezer. I mean, the refrigerator. Divine. Cut up some mangoes. Put them in the freezer. That's going to be anytime you have a desire for something sweet, instead of eating junk or shit that come to 7-Eleven or whatever, you got that whole thing of frozen mangoes. I say get 6 mangoes, ripe mangoes, cut them up, put them in the freezer, and that'll be something that you can snack on. I know intermittent fasting is kind of hard when you first start, but after a while, it just gets easier. That's how I got so skinny. That's how I'm able to pull off all this weight. Because I rebound. When I get to a certain weight where my face is sunken in like this, I can rebound and get big as fuck. I believe I have a challenger. Those mangoes are so good, I have to force myself to put them in the freezer and leave them alone. Did you guys see the fire truck that we built this week out of a tricycle made for selling tamales? Me and the kids took the design from the chicken bus and another fire truck, measured out the sides of the tricycle thing that the tamalero, it's called tamalero, that's what it's called. And then I just got some poly, whatever it's called, the sign material. Remember those signs you stick in the ground? And gave the kids a whole bag of zip ties and say, put it together. The moms like to get involved, which is good. I think they should get involved. But they're not mechanical, so they tend to slow shit down a lot. I had one specific project, and I was like, kids, today we're going to make some fire helmets out of paper mache. I wanted to see how quickly I could get one done by myself as compared to somebody else that was there and working with her kid. So I was like, well, here's what I'm going to do. Y'all go ahead. I'm going to give y'all a 5-minute head start. When I come back, if it still looks like you're struggling, I'm going to help all boys, and then you're going to help all the girls. Just to see how it goes. The boys were done in under 10 minutes with all the helmets. Anyway, I dislike people who eat on camera, but I wanted to show you before I go those 4 lights, because I'm going to fix them all, and I'm going to hang them up in the castle. Hang on. So there you have it. I hope you've enjoyed this a lot. My name is Professor, and I hope you like this video. Hit that subscribe button. I'm going to do small little projects like this that don't take that much time, but I think it's important when we talk about the wisdom that I'm given. So if you're one of these people that suddenly you all of a sudden have all these like superpowers and you know math and all these things, hit me up. Let me know if I'm not the only one doing this. So I thought I'd mention that in case there are any special people out there. I'm the Professor, and I'm out.